Hi, I'm DJ the Home Barista. I wanted to shoot a quick video and share with you how I brought my SanRemo YOU back to life. I was probably one of the very early adopters of buying this machine. I bought this, I think October-ish, or October of 2022. And I got it, I set it up, and I loved it. And probably like most of you, I had set it up to where it was coming on automatically early on in the morning and then shutting off in the afternoon. So I had it set, I think, at the time to come on at 7:30 a.m. and then go off at like 11. So it'll give me time to have my morning cup and then my afternoon cup. And then probably about, I'd say, maybe half a year to a year ago, I noticed I would hear it turn on and then I would hear a sound of water coming out of my machine. So I probably had in the beginning, I'd say about 4 to 8 ounces of water that would just disperse from the group head every time I turned it on. And then the machine would display an error message and it would say, first it would say first load exhaust, and then it would say it's filling up the steam boiler. Those were the two error messages I got every time I turned it on. Like I said, it started off with about 4 to 8 ounces of water, and then I quickly learned to I'd have to shut off the auto on feature and then manually turn it on. That way I can make sure to put a cup under there and make sure the drip tray is not leaking and overflowing. So unfortunately, it kind of started going downhill from there. So it went from about 4 to 8 ounces of water up to 16 ounces of water, 24 ounces of water, 40 ounces of water every time I turned the machine on. And it would just drip water, first load exhaust. There was a little trick I can do to kind of trick the machine. When it was doing that, I would turn on the paddle, flip it off, and then it would stop. That would kind of shorten it, but then over time that stopped working. To where it was eventually, this machine was pretty much unusable. I would go manually turn it on, about 40 ounces of water would come out, and then I got like the red light of death and it would say group blocked. And once it said group blocked, like nothing would work. Wouldn't be able to get hot water, steam, couldn't open that up. I pretty much had to restart, turn it off, turn it back on, and start the whole process over again. I had reached out to SanRemo. They gave me a couple of ideas, a couple of things to test out. I went online trying to search, and I saw others that had this issue, but nobody really had a fix for it. Some people were saying, oh, you gotta change the display, or you gotta change the main board, or your probes are dirty and you gotta take the probes out and sand them down. I didn't change the display, didn't change the main board, but I thought, let me try sanding down the probes and the steam and the brew boiler. So I set it off, took it apart, took whatever probes I could find, sanded them down, reinstalled. Problem was still there. My dealer wasn't really much help either. They pretty much just said, you're kind of out of warranty and you're SOL. So after I kind of exhausted all my avenues and I was like, okay, this is pretty much now a very expensive paperweight. Let me just go ahead and start looking up new espresso machines to buy. And then finally I realized, hey, I got this product that I had with my old espresso machine that was a heat exchange machine. Let me just run that and see if it'll help. So I had a bottle of Ernex descale. This is just a descaler with citric acid and sulfamic acid. I thought, what the heck? Might as well give it a shot. So I followed the directions in here. I switched this over to tank because I usually have it plumbed in. Switched it over to tank, mixed it up, put it in there, and at this point, it still wouldn't turn on properly. So I had to actually go into the settings, log into the device, and then go into the input and output test. And I had to go in there to the output test and manually, let's see if I can find it. Let's see. There we go. So I had to manually turn on the service boiler, the group, and the coffee boiler. So I manually turn those on, let them get up to temperature. And once they're up to temperature, I let it sit for about 30 minutes. And then I flush the steamer, the hot water, and the group head repeatedly. And I ran it pretty much the whole tank with the descaler, ran that solution through until it was empty and had to refill. Then I took out the water tank, rinsed it out, cleaned it out, put fresh water in. Then I had to flush fresh water realistically about 4 times through the machine before the descaler was all the way out of the machine. And then after that, turned it off. Next day, went to turn it on. No error messages, no problems. Started up just fine. And I've been running it now for about 2 weeks and have not gotten a single error message. So if you are having that, I think it was AL 17 and AL 18, where it said Steam Boiler FillingUp and first load exhaust and or a group block, the combination of those 3, I definitely recommend trying to descale your machine. I looked in the manual for the SanRemo and descale is not mentioned. When I reached out to SanRemo and my dealer, none of them mentioned to descale. They just kind of were pointing at other things to try, and none of those worked. So for me, at least, descale worked. If you want to give it a shot for your machine, go ahead and give it a try. But it brought my SanRemo back to life, and I'm thankful for it.